Hi folks, welcome to International Flamingo Day from Hanwell Zoo with my good friend and colleague Bo Jensen McCubbin, who's head bird keeper, all-round educational superstar, and he's come to talk to everyone today about the amazing flamingos that they have here, and really excitingly, he's let us feed the flamingos as well. So thanks for joining us in between the shouting of the flamingos and potentially the trains that go past. We'll see how we get on with the volume. We're going to talk a bit about why flamingos are so amazing, what International Flamingo Day is all about, and give you some fun and interesting facts about everyone's favourite pink bird. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for coming. It's nice to have a visitor.
I know, in our weird lockdown times.
Quite.
Socially distanced flamingos, everyone. So, Bo, you've been here for about a decade.
Really?
And you've had flamingos since 2017.
Yes, this will be our fourth year.
And do you want to tell us a bit about your flamingos? What species have you got? What are your favourite characters in the flock?
Sure, absolutely. We've got a flock of 11. They're all the same age. They were all born in 2016 in June, so they're all coming up to being
it's a birthday
5
soon,
years
then.
old. Absolutely. And we've got 8 males and 3 females. They have a nesting site. They're feeding on the waters at the moment, but they have a nesting site just behind the greenery there. So we're hoping in the next month or so for a few eggs. And I think one of my favourite things about them is their behaviour. It's so apparent. It's so obvious. So it's really, really interesting, even from afar, to see who's with who and who's pair bonding with who and what they're doing at that moment. And they're a pink bird. So I just love flamingos.
Well, it's great to actually do this International Flamingo Day with some flamingos behind us, because when we launched International Flamingo Day from the IUCN Flamingo Specialist Group last year, we were in the middle of the COVID pandemic. So it was really difficult to actually get out to see some birds. And we know that some of you might still be struggling to go and see your local flamingos. That might be in the zoo where you live, or if you're super lucky and you live in one of the countries where flamingos actually occur in the wild, your local birds at your local wetland. So it's really kind of Bo to show off his birds today. And one of the things that we really want to talk about is just why everyone loved flamingos so much. Because you only have to post a picture of them, or you see them in the shops all of the time. Flamingos are incredibly popular. So what I'm going to ask Bo to do, just to put him on the spot, is to ask if he's able to pick out his favourite flamingos from the flock that he looks after. Have you got a special favourite bird, Bo, in your group of 11?
Normally I wouldn't admit to having favourites, a favourite animal or a favourite bird or a favourite flamingo, but as it's you, I do. There's 3, in fact.
That's fine, you can be greedy.
Thank you. They were all of our birds were born in Chester, and one of the eggs were ejected from the nest. So one of our birds were hand reared by keepers at Chester Zoo, and because of that, he's a little bit tamer. So he comes a little bit closer than the other birds too. We're very hands-off here at Hanwell Zoo, like them to exhibit natural behaviours and get on with what they want to be getting on with. But yeah, he will hand feed. So I got a soft spot for his name's John, and then the other 2 are Josh and Jack, who pair bonded a couple of years ago, and their bond is just so much stronger than some of the other pairs that we have here in the flock. So again, whether it's John or Josh and Jack, you can see them from afar without being able to identify them by eye. You can identify them by behaviour. So because you can do that extra sort of behavioural study with them, they
really bonded to you as well. And I don't know if this is being picked up on the camera, but I love the fact that they all wear their names on their legs.
They do. They've all got very, very short names, and we did that on purpose so we can put them on their leg rings so we can identify them just that little bit easier. So they've all got 3 or 4 letter names. One of them, of course, named Rose, after my favourite flower, and after
Such
Paul.
rudeness.
And it just helps with it just helps us maintain them and look after them that much more if we know exactly who we're dealing with and who needs watch that day. So yeah, it's really, really useful.
So we are mastering the wonderness of social media technology today. So if you've got any questions about flamingos in general, Bo's extra special flamingos and the other birds that we also love as well, we don't want to leave them out, do pop any questions you've got in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them as we go. So Bo's mentioned about the behaviour of these birds, and that allows us to study them really well. And one of the things that I have done in my academic career is study the behaviour of the flamingo quite extensively. And it's really nice that Bo has pointed out just how important their behaviour is to managing them. And that allows you to see what the birds are doing at an individual level. And Bo's also talked about the fact that coming up relatively soon, in the next month or so, the birds are going to be breeding. Now, Bo, you have got a nesting island, I think. Is that right, at the back?
Yeah, just behind over there.
And what do you look for in the kind of nesting behaviours of your flamingos? How do you know when they're ready to get a bit flirty and make some more baby flamingos?
We preempt it to start off with. So at the beginning of the season, before we notice any behaviours, we get prepared. So we prepared their nest site from the year before, and we're quite drastic with it. We destroy any nest that was made the year before and remove all of the material. Then to preempt any behaviour, we put in some dummy nests just to let them know this is probably a good place to nest. We give them lots and lots of materials to work with, and that's mainly sand, some well composted leaf mulch, and then lots and lots of clay. Luckily, we're on a big clay bowl site here, so there's lots of materials for them to make their nest with. And then we divert some of their lake water into that site to make sure it's malleable and they can build their rather large mounds with. And then once we've done that, we start to look for lots of behaviours, which you can see now, that ruffling of the feathers and that lots of arguing. We start to look for that because coming into spring, they'll start to argue a little bit more. They'll start forming their bonds. We can start seeing those couples come together, and then we expect to see some nesting behaviours, which we have done for the past 4 or 5 weeks now.
And do you get the amazing wing spreading and the head flagging and the courtship dancing?
All the time. It's lovely. It's a shame this time of year. We've only been open for a couple of weeks now, but all of that all those behaviours started during lockdown. But yes, every day they'll stand up in unison and start dancing with each other, standing nice and straight, necks nice and straight, their heads moving in unison, and that really, really lovely flash of black as they open up their wings to dance with each other. It is lovely.
And it's great that you can see these pair bonds in the flamingos so well, and that's something that's really dear to my heart, having spent a lot of time investigating flamingo friendships in inverted commas, and to actually see these pair bonds in action suggests how well Bo and all of the other keepers here at Hanwell Zoo are keeping their birds. And the fact that they have these really naturalistic nesting materials for the birds as well actually will aid in their reproduction. So I've got a flamingo egg with me. This is a blown egg, and it looks really dirty, but that's natural, and that is exactly what you would expect to see in a flamingo when it hatches its eggs on its nest. A really dirty egg, because they cover them in the clay that their nest mound is made out of. And actually, flamingo eggs are really unique in that they have a chalky covering over the white eggshell, which protects the developing chick from all of the mud and the clay it gets covered in. So not only are they expert architects for building these amazing nest towers that Bo will be seeing in a few months' time, but also their eggs are specially evolved to cope with that type of environment as well. So Bo, I don't know if anyone has got any questions for us so far on your amazing birds.
We don't, not just yet, but hello. Oh, we did, but there's a comment. I'm going to read the comment. Emma asked, are you noticing a difference in the birds now that the public are back visiting? That's a brilliant question.
Good question, yeah.
Because not just with the flamingos who are really gregarious and they really have a relationship with the public and a slightly different relationship with all the keepers and myself, but it's something we have been monitoring with all of the animals here at the zoo over the past year, because the 3 enforced lockdowns are something we've never had before. So it is really, really interesting. We've not noticed any, we're looking for the good and the bad, and we've not noticed any negative effects. One thing we were slightly worried about with the flamingos this year was, our coming out of this lockdown, was that they would get a sudden rush of visitors coming in right by their nest site, which they were used to, but during the lockdowns there's been fewer or no people in. And we haven't noticed any change in behaviour whatsoever.
That's really good.
Yeah, the only change in anyone's behaviour really has probably been the meerkats, who really seek that sort of inquisitive nature, and they like to have a look out for people and who's doing what. and they're the only ones that have sort of shown any difference in their composition whatsoever. So we've not noticed with the flamingos at all.
You've got like a natural social group, and that's where all of the interaction of the birds comes from. So as long as that has all remained the same, they still get fed, they still get access to their house, they've still got their clean water, everything to the flamingos is going to carry on.
Yep.
As normal. Good question.
It's a very good question.
Very COVID-related flamingo question, thank you.
Thank you, Emma.
So one of the things that we are really focusing on International Flamingo Day for 2021 is the fact that there's not just one type of flamingo, there's actually 6 different types of flamingo. And the 6 different types of flamingo are really important from a conservation perspective. So Bowes Caribbean flamingos are one of the commoner species that you will see in zoos and out in the wild, but some of the other flamingo species are rarer, and that is because of human encroachment and change to their wetland habitats, potential global climatic changes as well, and also from disturbance of their nesting areas. So Bowes flamingos that we can see in living collections are really, really important for maintaining these different individual populations that are sustainable in captivity, so that should things turn really bad in the wild, we still have flamingos around. And the IUCN Flamingo Specialist Group works with flamingos around the world, looking at the wetlands, looking at their conservation needs, and helping to manage these populations of birds wherever they occur. Now, for those of you that didn't realise there are 6 different species of flamingo, we're going to give you a few fun facts about them. So the Caravan Flamingo is one of the tallest species. It's also one of the brightest as well. And we have to maintain that beautiful pink colour in captivity. And one of the things I'm going to talk to Bo about when I finish waffling on is about how we feed the flamingos and how we keep it pink. So the Caribbean flamingo, and I have a skull of a Caribbean flamingo here, one of the largest species, we can compare that to the skull of one of the smallest species, which is the lesser flamingo. And the lesser flamingo feeds in a different way to the Caribbean flamingo. So some of these flamingos live in different types of wetlands to feed on different foods. And of the 6 different species of flamingo, the lesser flamingo is one of the ones that's really highly evolved for a very particular ecosystem. It means it can only live in one particular place. Bowes Caribbean flamingos, they will still be eating food to turn them pink, just like the other 5 species of flamingo do as well. So what do you do, Bo, here at Hanwell Zoo to keep your flamingos beautiful and pink?
They are, especially this time of year where they're coming into breeding season, they are really particularly beautifully pink at the moment. We feed them on a maintenance. Providing them with a wild diet isn't necessarily realistic.
Very, very difficult.
Within a captive situation. So we feed them a maintenance pellet, which you might have seen I've been throwing behind me for the past 10 minutes. And in this has all the nutrients that they need. It's a complete maintenance diet to keep them nice and healthy. But included inside this maintenance pellet is an artificial keratin to help keep them pink. In the wild, they would get that from the food that they eat. To ensure that they carry on being pink, we make sure we've got the right stuff inside their food.
You're doing an amazing job coping with the shouting behind you. The turkey that's also getting involved, and the main line into Paddington Station.
It's a noisy space.
So this flamingo pellet, and I'm going to join Bo in feeding them because who does not love eating flamingo? This flamingo pellet allows them to forage in exactly the same way in the wild. Flamingos always feed in water. They have this amazing filtering mechanism in their mouths. They're basically whales in better costume that don't have to live underwater. They filter in exactly the same way as whales do. And you can actually see the same type of processes in their beaks. It's called lamellae. It's a bristle highly packed together in the flamingo's beak, as you will see in a whale's mouth. So this pellet that Bo is providing them with today breaks down in the water. They filter out all the things they need, gives them the protein, the fats, the fibre, the energy, but also really crucially the chemicals that they would naturally collect in the wild, which are called carotenoids, which turn them pink. And those carotenoids are, if you look in your vegetable basket at home or in your fridge and you find a carrot, it's exactly the same pigment that turns carrot orange. The flamingo manufactures it, shunts it into its feathers, and we get this beautiful display that we can see behind us. How are we doing on the comments and questions front? Or have we just blown everybody away with our amazing flamingo science?
We've not had another question in yet. We have had hello from Enver in Peru. That's quite exciting.
Nice, yeah.
Hello, Enver. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
hello,
you
Irene.
for coming from Peru, Enver, because you have got 3 species of flamingo in Peru, and you've got some of the rarest species of flamingos as well, the Andean and the James's flamingo, or the Puna flamingo, which is a really poorly understood species, and also the Chilean flamingo as well. So not only have we got Caribbean flamingos in the Caribbean and other places too, the lesser flamingo in Africa, the greater flamingo in Africa and Europe. We've also got these 3 high mountain species that live right at the tops of the Andes Mountains in Peru, Bolivia, Chile and Argentina. So flamingos are kind of spread out around these really strange, unique wetlands that will allow them to collect these coloured pigments all around the world. Bo, any final closing thoughts on why you love flamingos so much before we let these people get on with their Monday afternoon?
It's mainly their behaviour. I think one of the wonderful things about flamingos, like many of the animals, all the animals in fact that we hold here at the zoo, is one of the utmost important areas is conservation. They're at risk of climate change and human encroachment, so protecting them in captive populations is so important to keep these incredible species for future generations to come. But one of the things about the flamingos is they're so identifiable, so it doesn't take much to engage the public about a subject about flamingos. I think it's one of the earlier birds that children tend to learn about. So they're so identifiable, so they're so inviting in that regard. And once you get over that hurdle introducing people to the species, their displays and their behaviour just add to that really layered, interesting story, and that helps us educate people about these birds, their habitats in the wild, the dangers that they face in the wild, and their conservation, which is really important. So I think their general natural behaviour really.
You're gonna have babies soon.
That's Fry. That's who I was telling you about. So those natural behaviours just make it a really approachable animal to share with people.
I think that's a brilliant answer, because everybody knows that flamingos are pink. Everybody knows that they stand on one leg. Going to see wild flamingos can be really difficult. So it's a beautiful hook to get people interested in wetland conservation, in the conservation of the birds, and in the really big conservation matters more widely, particularly around climatic change. So do look out for more information that we are spreading on the Flamingo Specialist Group social media pages throughout the rest of International Flamingo Day today. We've got loads of free stuff that you can download from the Flamingo Specialist Group website, and also a massive shout out to Hanwell Zoo. They've got a really active Facebook page, and you're on Twitter as well, Instagram as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, we're not on Instagram yet, so one day maybe. But there is loads and loads of information out there on flamingos that the Flamingo Specialist Group is providing free of charge. So go and look at that stuff if you're interested. If you want to know more about the different species, we have introduced you to one of them today, but there are 6 different types of flamingo, and we've got a whole range of, I hope, interesting and informative information out there for you. So thank you so much, Bo, for having us today.
Again, thank you for visiting us.
And I think we will just leave everybody with like a final closing shot of your amazing birds, because they just look brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. I will move out the way.